So that really just like that first experience of being up till a break of dawn and, hearing the vinyl for the first time, that just triggered me of like, this is what I'm supposed to be listening to.
Welcome back to Behind the Decks, episode 2. We're finally getting a rhythm here and figuring out all the wires, where everything gets plugged. Shout out to MPLS House for hosting. Angel is behind the scenes, making sure everything stays plugged in. So we might see him pop on camera a little bit later. So this week's guest, I'm here with Noel, aka Noel John, previously known as NOE.
Yeah.
So we're going to deep dive into his backstory and learn a little bit more about what's going on and his influences, and just hopefully by the time we're done here, a little bit more about him, and I will as well. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, it's so interesting because there's so many different styles of DJs here, and I'm just really interested to get into your backstory and kind of see. So just without winding the clock too far back, what's your earliest recollection of like a connection to music that you can remember?
So growing up, my mom, just to give a little background of like how I got into my first taste, was my mom is the firstborn out of 8 kids.
Okay.
And so when she moved from Haiti to Florida and Minnesota, all of her siblings would follow suit, follow her wherever she was. And so she was the first one to get a house. And so all my uncles lived with us for a little bit. And my uncles are rappers. They love Southern hip hop and, all that kind of style down south. And so when I was little, I was always around them, and they would put me in big chain, big hats or whatever, baggy shorts and all this stuff. And so I was really into that hip hop early on age. I think that like the earliest I can remember is like maybe like 8 years old.
Okay. What were some of the songs? Do you remember?
To be honest, it was like Gucci Mane, Lil Boosie. So real Southern, just like, really dirty and raunchy, which an 8-year-old shouldn't be listening to, but my uncles are like, this is like our little brother,
Yeah.
And so, as I got older, I got interested into, being around them, and they'd bring me to the studio sometimes, and they were not night owls. So they'd go to the studio at like midnight until like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already asleep by like 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. So that was like my earliest memories, and it just kind of grew heavier on because I knew that I didn't like rap to do it myself. I loved listening to it, but like when my uncles would put me in the booth, I'm like, the words couldn't come fast in my head like they would. They were really fast and witty like that.
So they were recording.
Yeah. Okay. So they also went to music school too. So they kind of had that, training and everything. But I realized that, okay, I can't think fast rapping wise, but like I was really into writing, and so like I would write really like poetry and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like in my poetry at that time was really like, just about my like experiences with love, even though I didn't have any, but like what I thought love was. Cause like, R&B was also played around me all the time. So I was like, oh, like this is what love is. So I'd write poetry about it. And that's when it clicked. I was like, okay, like maybe I should start singing. So I would do covers of artists. I can't try to remember, like Bruno Mars, John Legend. Those were kind of the artists that I did covers of when I was a little kid. And I put it on YouTube, and you can't find it anymore, so don't try to look. It got deleted somehow, and I'm thankful that it's deleted. Those are kind of the early on memories that I had, just like how I even got into music.
What was the draw to poetry?
Honestly, I think it was natural, to be honest. I didn't have anyone, maybe because I saw my uncles writing and stuff like that, but they also weren't having to writing their lyrics beforehand. They just freestyled, and then where they freestyled, they would like, oh, maybe I would write more off of this or whatever. But I don't know if it was them or if it was just something natural just came to me of like, okay, like I don't like to rap because I'm not fast on my feet like they are, so I just resorted just to writing, and that kind of carried on with school as well. I love just writing stories and stuff like that.
Do you find it's something that helps like get the creative juices flowing?
I think it just helps me connect with myself better. Because that's what I use it as a tool now. I don't really like write anything else other than just like understand my own emotions and things that I'm going through. So like writing now, it really just helps me just connect with myself and get thoughts down that I have a confusion with, or just trying to like, okay, like I know it's in my head and I can think about it pretty clearly, but like once I write it down, I'm like, oh, okay, like more starts coming out and helps me connect with myself better.
It's kind of like journaling.
Yeah, journaling. Yeah.
So was there someone that sort of inspired you, or that you saw growing up, or is this something just innately in you? This because not a lot of kids are thinking about like writing poetry or
Yeah.
like or writing or stuff like that. I'm just wondering if you there was that was some behavior you saw somewhere.
Well, so my mom growing up and even my aunt, they were working in social work. So I saw them
Okay.
helping a lot of
Okay.
people, and that work of just being in the social work world, it kind of, I guess, rubbed off on me in a different way. Like,
Yeah.
I never, and it's funny, actually, I did go to school to be a therapist, but like, that's where it comes from. My mom, who was so generous and has such a big heart, like seeing her help people,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, like the way that I can maybe help myself is by
Okay.
writing. Unconsciously, I thought that it just became natural.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because this play about you mentioned therapy, and I've been seeing some of your posts, and you talk a lot about like mental health and how this is something that's important for you. So, do you feel like a lot of that has played into how you think about things differently? Because you don't see a lot of DJs posting about like mental health and stuff, the stuff that you talk about, but it seems like it's something that's passionate for you.
Yeah, I mean, just given my background with how I saw my mom and helping people and stuff like that, it definitely just helps me see the world in a different way, and also plays a huge part in how I like make music as well.
Yeah.
Makes me feel my music a little bit more because like maybe I'm feeling a little bit sad today or a
Mm,
little deep today, so I'll make a deep
mm,
house track, or if I'm feeling like really hyped up and I've always been a hyper kid and I've had a lot of energy, so I make some really high energy tracks.
so yeah.
So yeah, definitely it definitely correlates with my music and helps me, understand myself and why I made said track.
How do you find this journey of like being yourself online and posting? Because it's like, they say social media is bad for mental health, and then but you're sort of like turning it on its head because you're talking about stuff and you're being open about stuff and sharing what's coming alive for you. So what's that journey been like for you? Have you when you had like a social, did you always feel like it's something like like I had this platform because you said you were doing YouTube before, right? So
Yeah.
you've been, I guess, digitally native and more comfortable.
Honestly, it sounds weird, but like no, I was really resistant against it because I was never like a social media person like that. Like I archived all my stuff and cleaned up my Instagram, but like all my archives are just like pictures of me and my friends hanging out and stuff
Sure.
like that as a kid. Even that YouTube page, it was, I mean, I don't even know what the hell I was thinking at that time, but I'm glad that I did it,
Yeah,
but at that time, it was mainly meant for me and my friends. We are gaming and we put our gaming clips
yeah,
and then I was like, oh, let me just put my, covers here and there and
yeah,
no one will really notice. And I mean, thank God none of my friends gave me shit about it. I don't know if I could tell, but
yeah, of
uh,
course. Yeah.
all my friends, they didn't say anything about it. So that journey of like, okay, I was like, okay, like now talking about mental health and just,
Hmm.
putting my face out there like that,
Yeah.
I was really resistant because I am kind of a private person, but I was like, okay, like if I really want to take this seriously as a career, I have to, put myself out there. And, I'm a little bit still nitty picky with what I say
Sure.
and how I present myself because like I still want to be private in a sense.
Hmm.
But it's definitely built my confidence up and
Mm,
being like a little bit more comfortable with like talking to people, even though like, as I said, like I wanted to be a therapist when going to school. Like I think that also helps with, just being a little bit more confident in talking about these things because I was already talking about it behind the scenes,
sure.
going to school and, trying to talk to people and, being in that line of work. So yeah.
What's been the reaction to people when they see the clips?
They like it.
Yeah.
It's always been positive, and that also helps a lot. Like, hearing whenever I go out, someone's like, "Oh, like I love that video you were talking about," and
Mm,
that's a conversation starter between me and said person. Like
okay.
that honestly gives me a little bit more of like, okay, like I'm doing the right thing, and I should probably keep doing it because people react to it in a positive way. So it definitely helps.
So I guess a lot I've been seeing online now is the challenges, especially old school DJs. They talk about like, wow, you now have to have a social presence, right? Because back in the day, you just like
Mhm.
if you were a good DJ, and you were known for DJing good sets, that all that mattered now. But now it's like bookers won't take you on if you don't got like a huge
Yeah.
Instagram following. So it's really crazy. So
Yeah. And
how do you think about that balance of like being visible, but then you see these clips of like I posted something recently, a story about the guys who are like DJing on the mountain, but nothing's plugged in, and so it's just like
yeah.
they're just performing now. So like we're in a weird time right now.
Yeah, it's weird because like, I mean, when I first started making music, I was like, "Oh, I don't wanna push myself out there." So the first, like, 2 years, I was just like, my music should just be the one speaking,
Yeah.
because I was, as I said, like, private like that. And then at one point, I think, was it? I can't even remember. I think I just saw a video of someone saying like you need to be present on socials,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't want to, but like it's either I go with the wave or I get swallowed up and get be not be too present in the
Yeah.
scene. So I just had to like roll my sleeves up and be like, okay, like how can I present myself in a way that doesn't feel like I'm going against who I am as a person.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, like talking about mental health and
Mm.
tying that to music is comfortable for me rather than like, how some people just do TikTok dances and
Yeah, yeah.
all that crap. So I was like, all right, this is something that I'm comfortable with and I can, it's a no brainer to me at the end of the day.
Okay. So talk about the journey, how that started and the movement into like understanding what DJs were and like that whole scene and what was your
Yeah.
first, because you talked about like the genesis of like the music part, but now talk a little bit about like those early days for getting into the DJ scene.
Yeah. So being from Minnesota, I feel like a lot of people can probably relate, like heavy dubstep.
Yeah.
That was kind of my introduction to electronic music at all. I didn't know about it at all in high school. Like high school, I was listening to rap and rock and country. That was it. Like I did not know electronic music existed at all. So when I got to college, that's when I was like, what does this sound like? It was this aggressive, just twerk, it was crazy noises. And all my friends are into it. So I was like, you know what, like this is what I'll do. Went to a lot of shows, enjoyed it for a time being. And then one day I was at Excision, for like the third year in a row or whatever. And I took a video of myself. I was just like, I told myself I was so drunk. I saw it the next day when I woke up and I was like, in the video, said to myself, like, this is the last show you'll ever go to. Like, I don't know why you've been doing this for
That's
so long.
funny.
Like, it's so crazy. Like, I was like, and I stopped right then and there. And after that, it was, I went to Barcelona to go visit some friends. And that's kind of when I got introduced to house music. And I just fell in love with it. I saw Sven Voth.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
They were like, let's go to Input. We're going to see Sven Voth. I'm like, I don't know who that is, but I'm here to see you guys and enjoy Barcelona and being Europe in the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, it was a master class. It was all vinyl set.
Wow.
And didn't know what vinyl was, but I was like, they were like, vinyl set. I'm like, yeah, I should do vinyl, whatever. I don't know. Like, and that's how it just opened the doors. After that, and it was right before COVID too. So it was like literally the months that, COVID was really ramping up.
Yeah.
Where I was in Barcelona and right when Trump said like all US citizens need to come home right now.
Yeah.
Me and my friends, we got a flight right away. I was supposed to be there for another week.
Yeah.
Our parents were like, you guys can't come home. We don't know if you have COVID. So they got us Airbnb for like a week to quarantine or whatever. And during that time, we bought a DJ board and cause someone was on their Instagram saying, oh, like selling this board for $50 is one of those small controllers.
Yeah.
$50. We're like, oh, that's easy. Like we bought it and we just were in that house for 2 weeks, just playing around with music and just having a lot of fun. And that kind of just opened the door for me for house music.
What was it, do you think, that was like unlocked? Those early days when you think about your like exposure to music or to a new scene or to a new sound is always like, it leaves a mark on you. And what do you think was, now that you're looking back, like about that experience that sort of triggered something and started you on this journey?
I would say what triggered me was just, I think hearing vinyl for the first time, even though I didn't know what it was, like just the rawness of it. So I think that was like a perfect entryway for me. And I was just like, cause I was just in awe of the whole set. And we were there from, nightlife in Europe, you go up at 1.
You leave at like midnight. Get in at midnight.
Yeah. And then we left at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I remember looking at my friend. I got my phone stolen that night too. So like, I didn't have any time recollection of time.
Oh, wow.
I look at my friend. I'm like, what time is it here? 7 a.m. I'm like, shit. I'm like, it was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So that really just like that first experience of being up till the break of dawn and, hearing vinyl for the first time, that just triggered me of like, this is what I'm supposed to be listening to.
So you got the bug, you came back, bought the controller, and then, so what was the thoughts there? You're just like messing around, or did you feel like you had to start to learn like about the music, about the history of it, and just kind of find your lane?
It was more just messing around and, cause it was also spring break during that time. So I was just like, have fun. Let's figure out whatever, downloading a lot of music off SoundCloud and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And the knowledge and history about it didn't really come until like, honestly, the last couple of years of present now. But like, at that time I was just trying to figure out my own lane, what I liked, and really just wanted to have people over and so I can just DJ. Like that was my excuse. I was like, hey, like come over to my house, like I'll just DJ, and college kids in our college apartments. So
Yeah.
like pregame at my place and then afters at my place, like, and I would have DJ opportunities at other people's apartments, and
Okay.
then played one time at the local um, bar over in Minneapolis for over at the U of M called College Club.
Okay.
So that was a great, just like hopping around, always just bringing my little controller with me, my laptop everywhere I went, and
Yeah.
it was just so electric doing that.
What were you playing back then?
What was I playing? I can't even, I couldn't even tell you to be
Yeah.
honest. I can't even, because there was a lot of just like
Yeah.
random stuff like that was still house, but it just like I think what was really popular was like that new age of tech house, like Night Funk, I think was his
Okay.
name, he was really a driving force in that era.
Okay.
I'm trying to like it was some disco because one of my roommates in college, he was really into the disco house.
Mm.
That was a really nice fresh taste as well. So
Yeah.
I'd implement disco as well,
Yeah.
but with some of that still tech house kind of feel. There's also these guys named two friends who are from Minnesota, I think, and they played like big room
Yeah.
EDM,
Yeah.
and so I would play some of that stuff, but like only because if I played the disco, everyone else would be turned off by it. So I was like, "Oh, I can't play this stuff." So I kind of knew some things that I couldn't play
Yeah.
early on, which was good. I was kind of reading the room a little bit,
Yeah.
but I would play some of that big room EDM sometimes. And it would get people riled up. So I was just like, you know, that's what they want. That's what I
Yeah.
gotta play.
Gotta
So
drop a couple of bangers. I mean,
yeah.
so what did you learn in those early days about like crowd control, energy? Like, obviously early days, so you may not have even been aware of it back then, but I'm sure you started to really figure out like, oh, I'll play this, and then this has this reaction, and it's like, managing that energy in
Yeah.
the room.
So one of the nice things was like, as I said, like one of my roommates, he liked disco. So a lot of my other friends, as we kind of geared away from the dubstep and more house, I had some good friends who also were, crate diggers. They wanted to experiment and see, okay, what else is there in house,
Sure.
And a lot of them, as I said, tech house is really big. So they did some investigating. They're like, okay, like, Noel, we should play this track, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of good.
Yeah.
So how'd you find this over here? And so they kind of also inside, like it felt like a competition a little bit,
Okay.
a competition of like my friend Seven would be like, oh, like, no, I'll play this song right now. I'm like, oh, this song hits, dude. Like, what the heck? Like, and he was the one who got me into dubstep. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like if you're able to find this, I gotta find something better than what you have.
Yeah.
So it was a good competition of just like finding new tracks and trying to find my own way. And all that hopping around honestly led to me getting bigger opportunities. Getting one of my friends, he reached out to his boss who had a entertainment company called Eventi DJs.
Okay.
And they did a lot of like headphone disco stuff.
Oh, the sound discos.
Yeah, sound discos. Yeah. And that was really fun because it was a good experience of just like still crowd control, like because people could go from one DJ to another.
Yeah.
So like if I saw someone go off my channel, I'm like, oh shoot, I got.
Oh, because were they color coded?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I would be red, my other friend would be blue, and I'm like, okay, like a lot of reds,
Competition.
blue, and I'm like, oh dude, I got to get back on their side. So it's also just
That's
like
good.
also a good way to like kind of read the crowd.
Yeah.
And it was still a fun experience because like people were like the headphones are in, so like I would hear people singing, and like I'm like, you're not in the shower, dude. I can hear you, like, so it's like, and it's it was funny. It was a good experience though, nonetheless, just to be able to see who am I grabbing and who not, and how should I get you back on my channel?
Yeah, that's funny. And so you just have typically like a booth monitor there when you're playing, because you got to hear yourself, right? Too. So
yeah, no, we just had headphones.
Oh wow.
We just had that mixed through our headphones. Yeah, that was. So the company, we were traveling all over the Midwest, so they didn't want to be carrying a lot of equipment because you had to carry like 3-4 crates of headphones.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of welcome weeks for colleges. So I had to carry a lot of headphones, and they were like, "You guys don't need speakers. People don't. They're not going to hear it yet anyway."
That's smart.
So
yeah.
it was just that was the way it was.
That's easier, low overhead.
Yeah, it is.
But it must be a weird situation when you go in those. It's like if you just entered a room, everyone's on headphones, you can't hear anything.
Yeah, and it was really weird. Like, and I got bored of it fast. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it was fun to experience like the traveling and staying up late and also reading the room and stuff like that. But I was like, in terms of the music wise and like how it was structured, I was like, all right, this is boring. Like, I got enough of it. I think I did it for like 6 months, and it was like, all right, I'm done. I got my experience. Thank you for the opportunity, and that was it.
So speaking of travel, like, how has that affected or colored like your experience when it comes to like music and the scene and like experiencing, or obviously that big event you had in Barcelona was key, but then have there been other places that have like colored or like affected your kind of like taste and seeing what other cities are doing?
Yeah, going to Chicago. I've been there countless times and
Yeah.
grateful that I've been able to do that because it definitely shifted my gear in
Mhm.
terms of like what I really do love in terms of house music. And yeah, because like I honestly, when at that time when I went to Chicago for the first time, it was over at Music Festival,
Okay.
and it was the first year they had it. And I've been going for the last 5 years now.
Okay.
It's that great of a festival in my
Yeah.
opinion. And that really shaped like because they would always bring European artists, and
Mhm.
that's what I really gravitated towards
Okay.
was the European sound of house music.
Yeah.
And so whatever every year at the end of the summer, it was on Labor Day weekend, I would go to Chicago, and that would be honestly, it was just so much fun seeing all my favorite artists from
Mhm.
Europe come in and hear what they are playing, what's the vibe for house music over in Europe,
Yeah.
and it really made me want to bring that sound wherever
Mhm.
I was playing at here, whether it was in Minneapolis or wherever I had the opportunity to play.
Or any memorable sets?
So last year, Derek Carter back to back with Honey Dijon. That
Oh, okay.
was I couldn't even tell you what the hell they were playing. I was like, this is the funkiest shit I've ever.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
Mhm.
A couple years back, Black Coffee closed
So
one of the stages, and that was amazing.
sure.
Luciano and Ricky back
Mm.
to back with Ricardo Villalobos.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was also that was the second time of me seeing Ricardo Villalobos, and like he's such a
He's a
character.
master.
Yeah, a master and just such a character, like going off talking and laughing, and then all of a sudden he like cuts the track out, comes back in. I'm just like, I love the way he's just so fluid. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
It was those were probably the most memorable sets. Just it was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, when I think of most memorable, DJ experiences, the DJs always had a personality. Or
Mhm.
it's like you could tell, like, they're injecting, like, like, when you see Sneak play, like, he's just, like, sweating and he's
Yeah.
just, like, getting into it. I went to Movement for, like, 9 years straight, Detroit Electronic
I've been
Music
trying to. Oh,
Festival,
that's the one. Next one I need.
and that's the international flavor too, because you get it's just nonstop for 3 days and just bouncing around, and seeing so many different styles, and I think that speaks to, like, probably what you're experiencing in Chicago. Just you get to see, like, there's so many variations of what we call house and electronic and techno, and just like and then to see people that can mix genres, like,
Oh,
is
effortlessly
like it's
too. Is
effortlessly is always, like, interesting to watch. So having those experiences, seeing all these DJs, how did you start to think about, like, or defining, like, what your style is?
I think that this past year was really pivotal for me to figure out like what my sound was, because as I said, I had so many different, you know, lanes of of electronic music from dubstep
Yeah.
to tech house and now to house music to Chicago house as well. And this last year, I kind of understood what my sound is, which is kind of just like that loopy, funky groove. And there's like some artists like what's their D Stone or Kyle Walker or some guys like Simon Liberali, like they love playing around with like loopy tracks.
Yeah.
They're always sampling stuff, and so that's something that I'm okay. Like this is like what I like to do:
Mhm.
sampling songs,
Yeah.
really repetitive, but like small variations here and there to keep you interested,
Yeah.
but like not doing too much in terms of just having so much in my DAW and trying to make it complicated. Like simple is good.
Yeah.
That's what I figured out now. I'm like simple is good, and just play around with what you have.
So when did the production start?
2020, 2021, I think was my first track that I released.
Okay.
It's funny, I actually, like, month ago, I listened to it and I was just like and it actually had, like, it kinda went crazy on SoundCloud, and I was like, "How do people like this?" Like, I'm like, "Oh, my other stuff, I
Yeah.
like this way better, and, like, why
Yeah.
aren't you guys giving this attention?" Like,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's how the algorithm works, I guess, but, yeah, 2021 was when I kinda started, and then I got a little discouraged because I was, like, getting frustrated with the process. I didn't know where to start or whatever, and then stopped for a year and then
Yeah.
got back at it, and, I think 2023, that's when I got back at it, and ever since then, I've just been consistent with it.
Mm. And then how's the creative process for you? Because I've had a couple of tracks that I've released, and I took classes in New York City, like at that Dub Spot, and produced a couple of tracks. But sometimes it's like when you're staring at a blank slate, you're like, where do I start? And some people like to use a lot of loop libraries and just samples and stuff like that. And then by the time I'm done with a track, it feels like I could never create it again, or I couldn't even tell you how I did it because it just kind of like some of it was an accident or something like that. So can you talk a little bit about your process, like when you sit down in front of the DAW and like what goes through your mind?
Yeah, so I'm really, like I'm really organized whenever I set myself to, like, do something, so I don't like to look at something that's just blank. I like to
Yeah.
have some type of a template, so that's how it is when I open up my Ableton. I'm just like, "Okay, I have a house template." I open that up, and I already have my kicks, my clap,
Okay.
hi-hats, everything. Maybe sometimes I'll have, depending on like what template I pick, I'll have like already like some loop going on just to kind of get something going in my head.
Yeah.
But I like to have that as just like my first thing that I see, but also too, before I even, every day I'm listening to music, I'm trying to figure out, okay, like I have a whole playlist of just samples. Like, hey, like
Yeah.
maybe I want to sample this. Maybe it's just like the drum loop that I really like of this track. And
Sure.
so I always try to make sure I'm listening actively every single day to figure out, okay, like, do I want to sample this track?
Mm.
Do I want to use this vocal or whatever? So then when I open up my DAW, I'm like making up the groove. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, oh, let me use this sample that I saw or heard a couple days ago, whatever,
Yeah.
and try to implement that into the track and then, go from there.
You said something that was interesting. You said to listen actively. Can you define for you what that means? Because I think there's some specific you're talking about because it's not like something that's playing in the background. You're just like casually listening.
Yeah. So like, as I said, like how I love loopy,
Yeah.
music like that, like how that's how House was is really loopy. I always, whenever I'm listening to something that I feel like could be a potential sample, I'm like, okay, what is that one little like
Hmm.
characteristic that's just like that draws you in, whether it's, a little guitar pluck or,
Yeah.
a stab pattern or whatever. I'm always trying to figure out what is that one thing that I'm like, okay, I want that little loop in
Yeah.
my track. And then having like multiple like samples, maybe 5 of them where I'm just like, all right, all these little things, I'm just gonna keep looping throughout the track and then modulate them however I seem fit to
Yeah.
kind of keep the track interesting is kind of how I actively listen for a
Mm.
potential track.
Yeah, I remember one of the earliest exercises when I took that class is they said, pick your favorite track. You would bring it in, and they're like, now dissect it. So like, where's the kick?
Mhm.
Where's the hi-hat? And there's the shaker. Where's like the pads?
Yeah.
Where's the keys? And you start listening, you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on that I
Yeah.
hadn't realized. There's like, I got like 16 different tracks of things going on. And there's like, and I think it helped me like understand when it's done well, like what a art form it is, like to get because it's hard because to
Yeah.
not train wreck when you're like playing with a lot of stuff
Mhm.
and you have access to all these buttons and all
Yeah.
these samples and you just want to throw everything in there. But it's like it's almost like it's like addition by subtraction.
No, it is. And that's like where the like, simple is like the best. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I started, I would always have like, I don't even know, like maybe almost 40, 30 tracks. And I'm like, what's going on? I have all
Yeah.
these things going on. And as I like started to learn more and having these one-on-one sessions are the one thing that everyone kept saying is just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're doing too much. Like which was, and they would always all after that they would say like that's okay. You're starting off like that's how I used to be. Like I'm overthinking at all
Sure.
these things, and so like now I'm at a point like okay, like if I feel like it's too chaotic, I'm like delete, 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 delete or just throw the whole thing away.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's been helpful for you, either a program or teacher or course?
But right now I'm taking a course on Dojo.
Yeah.
That's ran by like Ben Rao
Hmm.
and some other people. I can't recall their name, but I think he's the one who started it all.
Okay.
Um, Also, Cass from over at Late Replies, he's also been a great mentor. Like whenever I have a track, I'm like, hey, can you
Mm.
listen to this?
Mm.
And he'll give me some feedback.
Yeah.
They also have their own community. I can't remember what it's called, but they do a great job of just like helping you in like, doing tracks from scratch or just like, technical stuff in the mix down and mastering.
Yeah.
So they do a great job of that. So I think like in this era, like where everyone's online, like it's great that everyone wants to be a teacher who's already doing the things that, a lot of us want to do is
Sure.
traveling the world. They're like, hey, like I already have all this knowledge. I might as well,
Sure.
make some money off it, but also help you out too, So
Yeah.
those online communities really do help a lot because they show me so much stuff that I just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's so dope. I'm, doing that, whatever.
Where do you go for inspiration when it comes to like music?
Kind of everything. I've really been into listening to a lot of jazz.
Okay.
But like bossa nova, for
Mhm.
instance, I love like Brazilian music because like my mom and dad are from, my mom is from Haiti and my dad's from Tanzania. So like I
Okay.
really love the tribal sound, but like I still want a little bit more musical aspect to it.
Yeah.
So like listen to a lot of music that I would hear back from going to barbecues with my family on my
Yeah.
dad's side. Like they would always be playing African music and it was really just like jungly, but like also musical.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always try to implement in my music. I'm like, okay, like I need a little bit more bongos or congos here and there, but also some keys and
Yeah.
some stab patterns or whatever. So that's what I listen to a lot on the daily. When sometimes I get a little ear fatigue, I'm like, all right, like I want to listen to, go back to rap, but also rap songs a little bit right now. So that's a different story, but
Yeah.
that's usually what I try to get that's my influences right now.
Do you find now like you listen to music differently? Because I'll like listen to old music or even stuff from like the 80s when I grew up, or Latin music, because like a lot of Spanish music was played in my house. But I'm always thinking about like, oh my God, there's a piece there, there's a loop in there, like or something.
Yep.
You're thinking of something you could use or something later
No,
on.
100%.
Yeah,
Like, my ears are now always, like, catching that on, and, like, it wasn't always like that, obviously,
yeah,
but I think the last, like, 2 years, I've really started to do that,
yeah,
and it sucks because like, sometimes I'll be out and about, and I'll hear something, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what is this track?" I'll put Shazam on. I'm like, "Alright." Hopefully, like, by the time I get home, like, I still have that
yeah,
idea in my head,
yeah,
and one of the tricks actually one of my, mentors taught me is like, "Hey, like, put a voice recording of, like, whatever that idea is,
yeah,
forget it." But the thing is I have so many voice recordings and I haven't got to them, so I'm like,
yeah.
I don't even think I can replicate this. So I'll weeks later, I'll listen back to it.
It makes no sense.
I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Like,
Yeah, I've been in clubs and I'm like, oh my God, I have an idea for a track,
yeah,
and I'll pull the phone out and then I'll listen to it. I'm like, this I don't understand.
comes at the worst time. It's like,
Yeah, background noise. It's like shittiest recording
yeah.
ever. So what's the goal now with like the production and the DJing? Are you starting to like coalesce it together? And so talk a little about what you're working on.
Yeah, so, obviously, I started off as a DJ and then realized, it was kind of just natural for me to wanting to make music. So I was like, I wanna create something,
Yeah,
and I think that just comes from the history of seeing my uncles create, and I was like, "I need to create as well."
yeah,
Combining the 2 just kinda made sense, and also just hosting my own parties as well, because I mean, being in college, hopping from party to party and DJing like that, I was like, "Okay, this is so much fun," but I knew that if I don't make music that people wanna hear and wanna see me, I can't do that,
yeah,
with the party aspect. So, it just kind of clicked to me just to start, getting that together. Obviously the production is a little bit more important, in this day and age. I mean, you can still make it as just a DJ,
sure.
but that just doesn't appeal to me. I don't wanna just be a DJ. I wanna actually make something and have other people play it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it just kinda clicked for me all of a sudden.
So is it now coming together, create a label, or what's the organization that you're putting together now?
So we have me and my partner Carlos. He goes by Alboa, but we started Soul Exchange, so
Okay.
that's our event series that we host. In terms of a label, I've thought of it, but just hasn't made sense yet.
Hmm.
It's something that I would like to do, but I'm like also, and as I said, I like to be really organized with things. So like, if I want to start something, I have to understand like what are these parameters I need to do to get it up and running, and how is it gonna look for at least the first 6 months?
Hmm.
Obviously releases having those already pre-made and, mixed and mastered, so, like, it's not, like, scrambling last minute every month.
Yeah.
So label is just kind of up in the air as of right now because I still have to understand how I'm gonna release my own music and everything.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of, at foot, but parties and just, producing my own music, releasing, that's something that I'm just actively in with Soul Exchange, and then I also go to Chicago and throw my own rooftop party.
Hmm.
It's gonna be my 3rd year doing it,
Okay.
this upcoming summer, so that's something that I just try to, keep actively going.
Yeah. So when you started, it was as NOE?
Oh, yeah.
And
And now it's, Noel Jean.
yeah, so talk about that because I saw you did a post about that. What was the reason for the change, and was that important for you?
So first, everyone would be like, "Noe" or "Noel," and it's funny because that's actually my nickname in high school. A lot of the older guys on the football team would call me like, "Noe,"
Okay.
and so it's funny that people would say that. "You didn't go to high school with me, like, what the heck?" And it was just supposed to be pronounced Noel, but just without the L. And I
Yeah.
was just like, all right, one, I was just getting tired of having to explain it to people. And it's too much to keep telling
Yeah.
people like that. But also, Noel Jean, my mom's maiden name is Jean.
Okay.
And it's kind of just like paying homage to, her side of the family and
Yeah.
her and my uncles who got me into music.
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, I don't know if they didn't give me, the late nights hanging out with them in the studio and just saying, hey, listen to Boosie and Gucci Mane and all these artists. I don't know if, where else would I have gotten that
Sure.
experience? Obviously, it probably would have came from someone else, but I mean, having that kind of experience with someone, who was family like that, I
Mhm.
think is really precious like that. So I just wanted to pay homage to that. And I just felt like it made sense
Mm.
because I finally figured out my sound, I feel like, and I
Mm.
feel a little bit more confident who I am as an artist. And I was like, all right, name change. I think this
Yeah.
is what it should be. So,
Does it color, or does it feel different when you play under that name now?
it,
'Cause of just, like, the energy of, like, what it represents sometimes. It's almost like the family name theirs now.
honestly, yeah, I guess it does
Yeah.
because now I obviously curate my sets to like what I would be producing.
Sure.
And so like I think it was Well, it kind of started a little bit before I changed my name when I was really like, okay, this is my sound. It was when I played at Day Funk
Okay.
this past summer, and I was, obviously Day Funk, they love their house, Chicago house,
Yeah.
really funky stuff.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when I was understanding, okay, I like my funky, loopy music like this. So like that set was kind of just like, oh my gosh, I had so much fun. It was lively,
Okay.
like got a great response from the people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was so much fun. And then after that, that's when I was like, okay, like I think that this is my sound. Like, okay, what's going to be kind of next for the next year? What should I be doing in terms
Mm,
of production and just like my image and everything? And
yeah.
that from that moment on, I think it kind of just made sense for me to change my name. And then also, it also felt different because I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like this moment kind of what I'm playing and everything, like this is like what I'm supposed to be doing from here on out.
That's good. That's gotta be a good feeling.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Like I look at the post sometimes I want really bad so badly,
I think
but
I saw that one too, yeah.
yeah.
So, how do you balance this, world that we live in where it's like being the influencer, DJ, or being a public face and having a viral clip and all that sort of stuff with like the true craft of like staying true to what you're doing. And I feel like if you're walking that fine line.
Mhm.
And so like, how do you interpret or how you handle that, like that balance of like being visible without trying to like be over the top or trying to do things just for likes?
Yeah, I think, what's been really important for me is just one of the things I talked about was, like, journaling, like, just
Mm,
making sure I'm being honest with myself, like,
yeah.
is this something that I feel proud of doing, you
Mm,
know? Because at the end of the day, like, I would never be out and doing TikTok dances or whatever like
yeah.
that. If you saw me do it, that means,
Yeah.
like, I've lost my shit, like,
Yeah.
but that's just something that helps me is being honest with myself
Sure.
and making sure that, you know, whatever I'm putting out reflects who I am and also, uh yeah, just keeping it honest with myself at the end of the
Yeah.
day. That kind of I feel like that kind of helps me without crossing that line or barrier of like, oh, I'm just doing this for likes or whatever.
Yeah.
Making sure that I'm just like, hey, like Noel, like, is this truly what you want to be doing
Mm,
or posting out? And just making sure that I'm trying to be the best version of myself too.
mm. What do you think of the state of where DJing is now in terms of like what you see and how, you know, it's the cult of personality DJs and like people
Mhm.
who just literally have probably just press play on their prepared sets and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of cringeworthy stuff out there
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So it's like, well, I'm just curious what your thoughts are, or if you just kind of stay in your own lane or just what you see when you watch.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's always everywhere, man, and but what I really love about it is that some people take the initiative to, like, make memes of those
Yeah.
people, like, there's this one guy, I can't remember his Instagram, but, like, he'll overlay, like, these weird noises, like, these, like, girls who, like, do the fans or whatever, and he'll make, like,
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
"boo bop" and, like, whatever, and I'm like, "That's so funny," like and obviously, those people are just doing it for the
sure.
likes and not whatever, and it's just like obviously, there's a side of me of like, "Oh my gosh," like, you're ruining the culture,
Yeah,
and everything, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, those people aren't doing anything to me, so I'm just
sure.
let you do whatever you do, and it's not gonna, you know, last as long, and it's
Yeah.
not gonna be as meaningful because it's like, you're not really putting on the culture for what it is,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
also, we still have a lot of legends who are slowly, fading away, like the late Ron Carroll, who aren't getting the praise and
Yeah.
getting these platforms that they should be getting
Yeah.
on, so it's just like, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like, I mean, it's kind of been like that when Black people uh, put put on a culture of something that everyone loves, but
Mm,
yet they don't wanna praise the Black people, the
hmm.
colored people who put that,
Yeah,
that
true.
sound or that culture that, everyone loves. They wanna just push them to the side and,
Yeah.
be like, "Well, thank you for your time, but we'll,"
Take the credit.
yeah, we'll take the credit. So it's just unfortunate though.
What's the journey for you been like in terms of like educating yourself on like the history of house and like going back and seeing tracks that, you know, were created 10 years ago or 15 years ago and a lot of crate digging. So like what's it like for you when you like discover or just like kind of learn some of that history?
Yeah, I think it's really important because it's just like, at the end of the day, like as I said, understand who was doing what,
Yeah.
why they did it, how did it become, and when I discover those things, it's honestly so much fun.
Yeah.
Like when I go to a record store and feel the vinyl and put it down, put the needle down, everything.
Yeah.
It's honestly just it creates something in me. Where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be able to do what you're doing, like replicate that kind of
Yeah.
feeling that I'm feeling right now for somebody else, maybe down the line.
Yeah.
So it's a great feeling to be able to understand who started what, why they started and how they started it, and be able and hopefully try to um, keep pushing on what they wanted for
Hmm.
others, even though they weren't doing that with that intention in the
Yeah.
first place. They're like, they just did it because they loved me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear like tracks being produced that have a sample of like a classic house
Hmm.
riff or something like that. And I'm like, wow, they're just like taking something that was like recorded like 10 years
Yeah,
ago and just kind of putting a
yeah.
fresh spin on it. So
No, it's dope to see because I mean that shows the artist whoever did that
yeah,
they're actually knowledgeable what they're doing.
yeah, 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 yeah. So if someone was looking to get involved and in the DJ scene and maybe were are where you were, 5, 6 years ago, I know a lot of things change so fast now, and we're living in a crazy world with like AI and just like
Yeah,
I feel
no.
like some crazy stuff happening every day. But what guidance would you give someone now, who was in kind of in your shoes?
I would say just get involved in your community.
Mhm.
I remember when I first started, I got a residency over at Barzia through a friend, and I thought that just putting myself on, like, promoting myself was the best way to get people through the door. And boy, was I wrong. No one, like the first night, all my friends showed up, like 50 of my friends. After
Yeah.
that, no one showed up. I only lasted 3 months in that residency. And
Okay.
looking back at it, I'm like, oh, if I would have, gone to parties,
Mm,
gotten to know people in my community,
yeah.
like it would have been a different story. So just getting involved in your community, going to parties, showing up,
Yeah.
being consistent with showing support to your local DJs
Yeah.
is really important because that's when people are like, oh, like I want to, be behind whatever this guy's doing because, he's always showing up for me and I'm
Sure.
going to show up for him and, building that friendship. So yeah, it's being in your community.
Do you find like the community here that like everyone does a good job of supporting each other?
Yeah, because Minneapolis isn't that big,
Yeah.
so especially with everything that's going on, people were so fast to be behind everybody and help the community and uplift. So it's really we know everybody, so it's just like it's hard for you not to stand like to be noticed. Like
Yeah.
if you keep showing and be consistent, people are gonna be like, oh, like I recognize your face, even if you didn't talk to them.
Sure.
They're gonna be like, oh, like I recognized you a couple times at the
Yeah.
parties. Like, what's your name? So I
Yeah.
think Minneapolis does a great job of that.
That's good. So what's next for you? What do you got in the works?
As of right now, I mean, just making a lot of music and trying to figure out my schedule in terms of releasing it. But I want to release a track almost like every month
Okay.
for the next year. And then Soul Exchange, we have a party on Valentine's Day, and then we have a lot of things planned for the summer. But yeah, that's continuing throwing parties and just
Mm,
releasing music.
awesome. Where's the best place for folks to kind of connect with you?
On my Instagram, Noel Jean Music,
Okay.
and TikTok is the same. And yeah, those two platforms.
Well, I want to thank you for the conversation because it's fascinating always to kind of see the journey and the arc, and sometimes you can't see your progress if you just look back like yesterday, but then you start looking back a year ago, 5 years ago, and you're like, well, okay, I can see where all the places and the choices I made and the things I did, how they led to like all the roads, and it seems like there's been influences here and there that you've been picking from, and it started to craft the sound that you have,
Yeah.
which I think has been fascinating to learn about. So I appreciate you sharing your story, man.
No, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a part two, gonna be a back-to-back session. And thanks for coming by, man.
Thank you.
All right, man.